Okay, a heavy traffic day on Genius Take the Wheel. So, looks like I might be here with you for a while. All right, welcome to 168, the 168th episode of Genius Take the Wheel. It is Thursday, October 17th. Good God, where did the time go? If you're watching this on the replay, I salute you. Thank you so much for supporting what I do here. Today is going to be a little different vibe, but no less than the reality as experienced and observed. I will not be pulling any punches or anything like that, as you guys know me not to do. First, an autopsy of today's training. Today is my normal hack squat day, and definitely worried about it because of the status of my left quadriceps tendon, and me trying to understand the connective tissue of that particular muscle group, trying to understand that there are better ways for me to try to apply force when it comes to leg extension, and knee extension, knee flexion. And I fear that I've fallen into a common neurological trap of trying too hard to overcome the resistance by any means necessary, or just by any means, because obviously it's not necessary to put so much strain on the connective tissue when the goal to begin with is to flex and extend the quads, particularly in squat motions. And sometimes the weight is so heavy, it's very difficult to focus on the prescribed muscle group. And sometimes it's just like, wow, I just got to get out of the bottom. And you feel the stress on your quads, but because, not applying the force as efficiently or as targeted as I should, well, the focal point of that stress ended up very close to the knees instead of in the middle of the quads. And so now I have this tendinopathy issue. And so today, I basically did a half measure on the hack squat. I went to 185 on it, only did 2 working sets of 5 at that weight, and it just did not feel good. But then I really tried to bear down and focus hard. Catherine, good to see you. I really tried to focus properly on flexing the quadriceps properly. And it it definitely helped. I'll definitely say that. So 41 years old, still learning my body. I just wish that it didn't distract me so much from the things that I'd like to accomplish, you know. And, I did the best that I could today on that. I have some light vertical pull work that I'd like to do. I'm going to add in some light deltoid work as well, because I intended to hit deltoids yesterday, but someone wanted to assert their female dominance in a shared space, and I want to talk to you guys about that today. The title of this stream is very clear, that bullying must be confronted in all of its forms. I think that, it really is important to recognize where bullying exists, understand that classic bullying does not always, that the modern bullying does not always look like the classic bullying that we, the archetype of what bullying is. You see the super large guy, the super large kid in the 5th grade who's already 5'9", he's 180 pounds. And he's picking on, the 3rd graders at lunch, and I'll see you after school at 3 o'clock. That's not how bullying works once you get out of elementary school. Bullying takes on other forms. And I do want to, tell you about an experience that I had just yesterday, which was the 16th of October on Wednesday, 2024. And what I've learned about situations like this. So, to give you guys some background, there is a decent gym in my apartment building. I do most of my upper body work there. And, I try to go to the bodybuilding gym when possible, because they have more comprehensive equipment for me to target things a little bit differently. But at the apartment gym, I could do, some nice stuff. Now, I am a certified personal trainer. I've been a coach for 2024. I've been a coach for more than 12 years now. And, I've been very successful at what I do, particularly because of my attention to detail and my understanding of kinesiology. Obviously, you might be saying, well, dude, you're dealing with knee tendinosis. That's really what it is, quadriceps tendinosis. The pain center is like right at the top edge of my kneecap. And it's like, yeah, injuries will affect everybody if you train hard. Your job is to limit the amount of times you get injured or reduce the likelihood that you could be injured. But that's neither here nor there. So in my business, it is a sales business until it becomes a relationship business. So I find myself, in my normal everyday life, I try to avoid people as much as possible. But if I am going to be able to pay my expensive bills, I have to do what is necessary. And sometimes what is necessary is to get out of my comfort zone. And I have to do a lot of, cold approaching, a lot of cold selling. And for a person that does what I do, the best way to go about that is to show value. And the way to show value is to look at what someone has and then explain to them how what they have can be optimized. So some months ago, there was this young lady who was working really hard, which, got my admiration immediately, because, I love it when I see people working hard, and special props go to her because she's going to be very heavily criticized, and rightfully so. But I always give credit where credit is due. One of my main criticisms of how today's attention-starved woman trains in the gym is basically like all hip extension work, focusing on the glutes, and the glutes, because, society says that having a large backside is in right now. So instead of, trying to become fit and healthy, and, obviously a lot of what people believe is in for women's bodies is directly correlated to what society believes that men find attractive. And on a consistent basis, because women know very little about men, generally speaking, women know very little about men. They will catch flashpoints, and then off the flashpoint, they will make a bunch of inferences, come to a bunch of conclusions, and modify their behaviors accordingly. For example, a guy might hit the little heart icon on Narcigram, and women extrapolate that out to be that if they want to get the kind of attention that they want, then they need to emulate the outward shallow attributes of other women without understanding the context for why someone might have hit that little heart icon on Narcigram. So they don't understand the whole thing with, large backsides or whatever. So they run to Dr. Miami or to some, gas station bathroom, and then, have some fake doctor inject some stuff in their backside, and they hear that a couple of women pass away from it. So, they hear that a bunch of, women pass away from it, so then they go to Dr. Miami. They see that black women's bodies, Brazil says that since forever, big glutes, right? But the women don't necessarily understand what it actually is. And you will see, and it's really crazy, and you've heard me say this before on this platform, and I'll continue to keep saying it. I believe it might have been Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock, but this has been said multiple times by different black people in the public eye. Everybody wants to be black, but don't nobody want to be black. So when you look at a lot of the, if you look at a lot of the different trends that you see going on in society when it comes to how women alter their bodies, the whole big glutes thing. Well, why is that a big deal in the United States? Well, because poor black men tend to prefer thicker, more curvier women. And it just so happens that some of those poor black men became popular, more wealthy men. And then the women end up wanting to be around those particular men as they become more popular. And as those men become more popular in society and they take on a higher position in society's social hierarchy. Well, if you're a man that's very high up on the totem pole and you've shown to have a certain kind of preference, then the women who admire you will quickly try to conform to what they believe your preference is to be without understanding the context at all. So another example would be lip fillers. I remember when having the thinnest lips ever was important because it is part of the European beauty standard. Now, because a lot of women who aren't black have found that the physical attributes of black women are they believe are preferred by men. Now they're having all sorts of chemicals injected into their lips and causing themselves a lot of problems. There are a lot of women now starting to come out and admitting that plastic surgery ruined their bodies. And so, not really understanding the context for why these certain trends are popular. These women, they do a lot of things that really doesn't make any sense in the long term, especially for their long-term prospects, what they're looking to achieve overall. Because the end goal isn't, wow, I'm going to get this large booty and then I'm finally going to be satisfied in my life. No, I'm going to get the attention on social media that I crave. And the thing is, now that a lot of the women all train the same, they all get the same types of surgeries. Now it's really just not that big of a deal now. And now you're starting to see more stories of women who regret their surgeries and their other body modifications. So one of the things that I wanted to give credit to this young lady is that she actually trained the entire body. And for the most part, she did things very, very well. But me being the guy that I am, even though my services are very expensive, when I'm in the gym, I feel best when I'm helping somebody else. And it doesn't really matter who it is. Like I'm very, very happy to even if it's something as small as give somebody a different perspective on the same movement pattern that they've been doing to gain more benefit from it. I'm happy to give that away. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. And I've had experiences in the past where someone will remember me from months ago and be like, oh yeah, I remember that one time you helped me. I'm now getting serious about what I'm doing. How much do your services cost? I've gotten customers that way. Right? Never do it for somebody else, only for yourself. And Catherine, that's I'm not going to say that you're wrong. What I am going to say is your comment is cliche because it lacks the context, and it's a big, big, big thing. Women crave attention, and you can give them all of the nice sounding affirmations in the world about how they should only care about how they think about themselves and only for themselves. But the overwhelming reality is women view external attention from other women, men, doesn't matter. Women view attention as almost as important as drinking water. Okay? So it's nice to say that, you should only do things for yourself, but what actual functional purpose does having an unnaturally large and or muscular backside, what benefit does it serve for your health and wellness? I can tell you that it doesn't. It just doesn't. because the body is a system. So you need to prioritize making sure that you treat your body as an organism and not a collection of organelles, because it can cause a lot of problems in your life in later years if you don't treat your body in a balanced way. This also goes for your nutrition. Oh, I don't eat carbs. Okay, you'll pay for that later on, definitely, right? All of these fads and trends, balance is always going to win in life, always. But anyway, so I did admire a lot of how she trained. And so, because, she does a lot of things that a lot of women try to avoid, like vertical pull work, pull-ups, push-ups, chest presses, and things of that nature. I thought what she did was really good. So I just wanted to give her, just a little bit more, like I give everybody else, both male and female. And I was letting her know, like, hey, without getting too sciencey, that, there are better ways to attack your hamstrings and glutes, and trying to explain to her why, and even showing her, exercise scientists that have basically broken down all of these movement patterns and found out that, hey, if there's a goal that you want to reach, there's a way to do it in a way that is in a way that is more, wow, these people are so selfish. Good God. I'm trying to let the guy in traffic, and people are like, no, I'm going to swerve around and act stupid. How dare you share the road with other drivers? Arg. Goodness gracious, it's not that serious. Anyway, so, there was a lot to like there. And so I wanted to give her a little bit of something. She was like, oh, it's really not a big deal or whatever. And, I don't just do this motion. So I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I kind of get it, right? And I think I forgot that I gave her that piece of information, because I talk to so many people every day that I'd rather not talk to. Sometimes I kind of lose track of whether I gave a piece of information to somebody, and she was like, oh yeah, you said that before. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I committed it to memory. Don't repeat that, right? And, so, I tried to strike up a little bit of a friendship, on on mutual interests and things of that nature. Just because I thought that she was definitely, a person that, works really, really hard. Oh, he's letting me in. That's awesome. He must be from Germany. So, there was a run-in where, I guess she thought that, she was, being this noble person, and she starts going on and on about, hey, Gottfried is here. How you doing? Oh, I tried to be nice to you because of blah, blah, blah. And once you hear, I tried to be nice, I said, say no more. I will not say anything to you anymore. I thought that, we were like part of like a, a similar tribe as far as like how we approach training and stuff like that. I see that is not the case. And I told her in these words, you deserve to feel safe in any environment that you're in. So I will not say another word to you. And I walked away. That was in March of 2024. We're now in October. So time goes along. I avoid her like the plague. And then, like, I started to sit back and watch how she interact with other people. And I was like, oh, okay, I dodged a bullet, because she is not a genuine person. And she proved that time and time again, fake smiles, fake laughs, basically trying to own the space and crowd other people out within the space. And I saw that her behavior was not limited to men. Her behavior was also very similar with other women. So I basically gave my women the scouting report and was like, yo, I just peeped this person's behavioral patterns. This is a person that you definitely want to avoid when you're downstairs. And the thing is, the ladies, because I've taught them very well, when you go into a gym and you don't have access, to certain things in the gym, don't worry about it. I've taught you, all of the different ways that you can try to get a similar benefit from, what it is that you're trying to do with a different modality. So they never really have any problems with like, oh, this is not available. Okay, I can't do that now. No, I'm going to go find something else that I can kind of get similar value, for what I'm trying to program out today. Okay. I hope that you took those. I hope that you took those tips that I gave you in the gym. I hope that that you're using them well, and I hope that life is finding you well. And again, I have a lot of love for you, brother, for showing up and hanging out with me and my family. That was big. That was huge. I will never forget you driving all of that way to get to Berlin just to hang out with me and my family. That was really cool, man. But anyway, so I avoid this chick like the plague. I had a female client that watched her operate and was kind of miffed by, her attitude and how she moves. I'm just like, yo, just avoid her. Just avoid her. Because it's not really worth it, So, sometimes it really sucks because this particular young lady has a really, it's just one piece of gym etiquette that she does not follow. That is, it's a really bad, it's a really bad, it's a really bad piece of etiquette to not adhere to. It is definitely among the absolute worst peeves that avid gym goers have with other people. That's usually perpetrated by people who are infrequent, but this particular young lady, she breaks this rule even though she is experienced, which kind of makes it a little bit more egregious. But I avoid this chick like the plague. And for months and months, come back from Berlin 2 weeks ago, start getting ramped up with my clients again. I had a 1 p.m. client yesterday, and we ended up on the subject of the diddler. Because what conversation can you have with another person in the second half of 2024 that does not include the P diddler? And we were kind of talking about the psychopathies that must be involved for somebody to have that amount of power, and be doing the kind of things that Diddy was doing to people. Duty, what are you doing? Okay. Clapping Usher's cheeks, clapping Justin Bieber's cheeks. And what I explained to the client is that I don't believe that Sean Combs, aka the diddler, I don't believe that he actually is a bi or homosexual, I believe that he has had so much power and so much access, going from being a relatively poor person growing up to having nearly unlimited access, that having relations with all of the world's most attractive women, including Jennifer Lopez, which at the time, she actually got the whole BBL revolution started. People don't understand that, but that started with her. Not because she had a BBL, but because women started trying to get plastic surgery to try to look like her. And the most infamous or famous, depending on where you stand, would be Kim Kardashian. So a lot of people don't necessarily understand that piece of information, but that's a real thing. But anyway, so I'm explaining to the client, hey, there's a lot of, weird stuff going on. And, he didn't really understand it. So I said, when you look at some of these guys that wear white in the Middle East, we're talking about these guys in Dubai. These guys did not earn their money. They got their money from fossil fuels that were just in the ground underneath their feet. It wasn't like they created some crazy innovation. They basically was just standing on top of sand that was on top of an oil reserve. And now they have more money than any of their ancestors could even dream of, that level of wealth, adjusted for inflation. And I was explaining that, these guys, they get, their sexual appetites end up being warped because after a while, when you've done all of these beautiful women, and let's be real, none of these beautiful women are like, oh my God, these guys are such great guys. They're looking for access to the resources. And so, basically what I was explaining to him is, if you look at Meek Mill, who let Diddy clap his meek cheeks, would we be talking about Diddy like this if people had more integrity? If people were to say, you know what, I will not just do anything for money, would we have stuff like, narcissism models heading to Dubai to become familiar with camels, right? Like what would we have that as a reality in our society if women say, you know what, I'm really not attracted to camels, so I don't care how much money you're willing to pay. So it really became more of a referendum on, people's personal integrity and their self-esteem. And, it kind of morphed into, I was, basically saying that, when you kind of look at how things work, women don't really deal with rejection, very well. And he's like, oh yeah, so true. Because, when he first started dating his girlfriend, he didn't make any moves on her after the first 2 dates, and she was offended by that. And I was like, dude, like, it is what it is. So this chick that I told months ago I would never speak to, which should have resulted in a mutual understanding that there would be no interaction between either one of us, she interrupts our conversation, but then directs her ire. The word she was saying was directed at me, but she was directing the sound waves at him, which I automatically identify as a cowardly move, because it's a cowardly move. I saw a 60-something-year-old man try to admonish my female client a few months ago because I guess he didn't like how loud I was counting out her reps or whatever his issue was. But instead of saying it to me directly, he wanted to say something to her and be a coward. So when because basically I had to go use the bathroom, and then he says something to the lady, and again, I just don't like cowardly behavior from anybody, but especially not from a man. So 60-something-year-old man, if you had like a real issue, then you could have said something to me. So when she informed me of his cowardly admonishment towards her instead of to me, I went and said something directly to him, because that's how I get down. Like, I'm not gonna, creep around in the background and, skulk about. If I got an issue with you, I'm gonna say it to you directly. So I approached him directly on account of his cowardliness. So for me, because I'm not sexist, I hold everybody to the same standard. Although you can make the case that I'm sexist, that I'm more tolerant of a woman's cowardly behavior than a man's. You can make that case. But I do approach all cowardliness the same way. If you want to approach a problem with me in a cowardly form, then I'm going to respond in the opposite by speaking to you directly. So instead of saying something to me directly, she went and said something to him. Now, the thing is, I've already known that she's not a genuine person. Hey, what's going on? I can't see the name because I can't read while the car is in motion. But how are you? How are you? So, she starts off, this thing, being cowardly, and she's got like these AirPods in her ears. And I know how effective those AirPods are because I also own the same AirPods as she does. I've owned the original AirPods Pro, and I now, gifted to me by Mrs. Evil. Hi, Jane. Is that Jane? Oh, that is Jane. Good morning. Thank you, Mrs. Evil. She gifted me a pair of the new AirPods Pro 2. So I own the old AirPods Pro, the originals, and the 2s, right? So I do, thank you, Jane. I do appreciate that. That's pretty cool. Thank you. And you also do the same. Enjoy your day. So I know how effective the earbuds are. So, we're talking, so me and the client, we're talking in a normal male language. My voice carries a lot more because, my voice comes from here, like Matthew McConaughey, right? But I know how well those particular earbuds work. So she's like, you guys, I can hear you and what you're saying, through my earbuds or whatever. And I'm just like, well, I already knew that this was a ploy. I knew that this was a ploy. Because I know how well AirPods Pros work as far as noise cancellation. So what I immediately figured out, because I had to kind of analyze it on the fly, she was trying to manipulate the environment to her liking because she believes that her interests are paramount above others. So I recognized it as a bullying attempt immediately. And I looked at him, and I like the frustration was kind of welling up from my stomach. But then I kind of quieted it down, and then I said to him, so as we were saying, because, again, bullying, it takes on certain forms that, again, we've been taught that bullying looks a certain way from our school days, the oversized kid who might be getting abused at home is now trying to assert his dominance because he's a little bit bigger, and maybe he's not learning the material as quickly as he'd like the other students. But when you get into other situations and you really study human behavior, you'll see that there are people who try to use less than equitable or less than ethical ways to try to manipulate other people to have power over those people, to make other people bend to their will. And if you're not careful and you're dealing with somebody that has been told that they are more important than you because they were born without a penis and you were born with a penis, that their interests are more important than yours, and you capitulate, well, they've successfully bullied you. They're not threatening in the classical sense, but they can be if they want to, and I'll explain how she attempted to be threatening in just a bit. So we just continued our conversation, and I let him know because he was very confused at what just happened, and I explained to him that that was was paying attention to what was in her ears. She would not be able to articulate that. She would not be able to process the bits and pieces of the conversation that she did pick up to determine that she did not like what we were saying. So then she turns around and starts trying to yell in my face. Not really in my face, because she kept her distance. I probably say 7 to 11 feet away. She kept her distance for the most part. She took a step towards me and then went back to what, because I basically kept reminding her that the best thing for her to do is to kind of go back to doing what she was doing and mind her business, because nobody was talking to her. And man, when I noticed the aid, I was just like, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. So I was able to predict pretty much everything that she was going to say even before she said it. When she said, I wouldn't care how loud you were speaking if you were talking about training, but you can't be talking about women. Now, she had no idea. She had no idea that the context wasn't really talking about women. It was really kind of talking about the dynamic between men and women, more specifically the problems that men, when they get too much access, it really warps their head. But then we can't just look at it in a vacuum. These guys would not really be able to do a lot of these really disgusting things if they didn't have people that accepted those disgusting things happening to them. And we weren't necessarily focusing on the women. We were really focusing on the Justin Biebers and the Ushers and the Meek Mills of the world, all of whom are men who let Diddy clap their cheeks. Now, 2 of them were underage when it happened, so there's a little bit of a different context there. But even so, if you are a 10-year-old boy or an 11-year-old boy, that you don't want to be wrestling over cereal, and you don't want to be giving up your booty to a 25-year-old man. And so, yeah, he can promise you, all the riches and girls in the world, but, even though, these guys were underage, they could definitely avoid getting their cheeks clapped. If they, like Cat Williams says, when Diddy wants to party, you have to tell him no, right? Cat Williams said he turned down $50 million 4 different times. And I really can't call the man a liar, because I haven't seen verification of him lying yet. I haven't seen everything that Cat Williams has said to this point has been true to this point. So I'm inclined to believe that he did turn down $50 million at least 4 different times. Why? Because, and I quote, I wanted to protect that virgin hole that I told you about as he was talking to Shannon Sharp in the infamous Club Shay Shay interview. So that was really the context of the conversation. But she might have heard something, we're talking about how, women generally do not handle rejection well. And then she goes to prove me right in her behavior, because I had to inform her that if this was a library, it is a gym, and you have earbuds, that if you really wanted to, you could raise the volume, you can put on your noise canceling feature. And I know you have them because I recognize the AirPods that you have. You didn't have to hear anything we were talking about. But you wanted to focus on our conversation because you didn't like what we were saying. And you were told that nobody is allowed to say anything about women that isn't groveling and capitulatory and worshiping. And it's like, ma'am, I get it. You heard some things that you didn't want to hear. That's kind of like what free speech is, right? Like, we're people hear stuff that they don't want to hear all the time. Like, we don't want to hear from you right now, but you're yelling in my face. So I had to constantly keep reminding her that she is not the arbiter of what other people are allowed to talk about in public. She doesn't have that right. And it's really sad that I have to keep reminding liberals, even though I am a liberal myself, I can identify with people who I generally agree with on most political topics. I can identify when these people are batshit fucking crazy. And this is a liberal problem, not a woman problem, but a liberal problem, where they believe that if there is something that offends them, they should be insulated from having other people say it. And it's like, actually, no. No. You don't get to decide what other people can talk about and the volume that they can talk about. You can ask. Well, I asked, what word she used? I asked nicely. And it's like, well, I'm declining your request nicely. Like, I don't have to do what you say. And this is, just, again, there are certain people that always claim to be oppressed, but they have this expectation that everybody around them is going to capitulate to them, which is the opposite. That entitled attitude is the opposite of being oppressed. Now, I had the option of complying with her request. However, I decided that I would not, for principled reasons. Because for me, I don't like to go back and forth with people. Mrs. Evil will tell you, I will not argue with anybody. But I made it a point to go directly at her because she's a bully. And she wanted to bully me with her liberal, ethnicist ideology that made her think that she was entitled to have her rights infringe upon mine. And I didn't have to curse her out. I had to remind her, and I just kind of stuck to the subject. So when I kept sticking to the subject and telling her to mind her business, then she wants to pull up, oh, and you wanted to talk about my hip thrust exercise, and you're creepy, and you're a creep. Again, trying to use sign language. Shout out to the late, great Kevin Samuels. Shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Right? When her expectation and entitlement of controlling the narrative, controlling the environment and everybody around her did not work. All the women think that you're creepy and you don't have any friends, and the insults. And I'm like, ma'am, I know what you're going to say before you say it. Like you're following a script. You're following the bully script of, if I can't get you to capitulate, I'm going to pull my ethnicist card. And, and it's like, ma'am, I thought about this after the interaction. Do you know what a creep actually is? A creep is somebody that skulks about in the shadows and uses indirect means for self-gratification. I approached you directly to offer you information that people pay me a lot of money for. And when you claim to be so uncomfortable with that, I did not say another word to you. So no, we're not going to play that you're a creep and all this other stuff. Never made any advances on her, never asked for her phone number, never tried to find out what apartment she lives in, none of that. And the way that a lot of women are using these, really, I will say liberals, they try to use these terms like incel and creep as a cudgel to bludgeon you with, to try to get you to back down so that they can successfully bully you into doing what they want you to do or to not do what they don't want you to do. You have to stand up for yourself. And I'm like, ma'am, I know all of the insults that you're going to use. You're not the first one. And I think that a lot of times, you realize when you're dealing with somebody who's never been told no before, somebody who's never really experienced somebody saying, hey, I get that, you want this, that, or the third, but you're not entitled to whatever it is that you believe that you want. And it is optional for people to grant certain requests. If I was sitting on the bench that she was using while she was using it, she can then make demands of me. But you don't have the right to make demands of other people and then start trying to insult them when they don't comply. I asked you nicely. Well, I said, I am nicely declining your request. And, for her to either to try to police the volume of the speech, for retaliatory reasons, because she didn't like what was being said, tells you all you need to know about the kind of human being that she is. She's just not a good person. And I sensed that in observing her interactions with other people. And then she confirmed it. So this very, very tall Asian man, hey, Mrs. Evil is here. This very, very tall Asian man shows up and he steps in between the two of us, because then she started doing this weird childish tit for tat, she started doing this weird childish tit for tat because I was basically saying for her to mind her business. You mind your business. And I'm like, you can't manipulate the environment around you. No, you're trying to manipulate the environment. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm dealing with somebody whose emotional growth has been stunted at childhood, which is also sad in its own right and likely not her fault. But again, as an adult, it's up to you to deal with your issues that you have stemming from whatever they are. It's really not up to me to deal with your issues. All right, I'm at a red light. Jane says, I would rather talk to men. Too many women tend to go off and become belligerent when even simple conversation of truth doesn't go in their favor. I mean, that was basically what the takeaway was here. Because Mrs. Evil will admit to you, I don't think that she's seen many women in her life handle rejection well. And this was an actual, like, and this is one of the funny things about this. She did not like jump into the conversation to counter what we were saying. She just didn't like what she was hearing. And the reason why I didn't say she just didn't want to hear it, because she had every opportunity to not hear it. She has AirPods Pros on. And believe me, I've heard people talk really loud. I can't make out what they're saying when I have noise cancellation on. I know that for a fact. Thank you, Mrs. Evil, for gifting me the pair of AirPods Pro 2. I love you very much. Okay. So when I recognized that I was dealing with a bully, I kind of, just kept telling her to go back to doing what she was doing. And then this really tall Asian guy comes over and he's like, yeah, that chick bothers me all the time too. Jane says, you can't win when they're constantly moving the goalposts. Well, the way that I win in those situations, Jane, there's two ways that I win. Because I'm very, very tactical in my approaches to these types of situations. Number one, when I engage with people who are not intellectually honest, I will continue the engagement in a public forum so that other people can see who they are. I want other people in public spaces, because the thing is, like, I kept to the subject. I never insulted her. I told her to mind her business, to go back to doing what she's doing, and she doesn't have the right to manipulate the environment to her preferences. She can choose to exist in that space and adapt to the situation, which she had ample opportunity to do so with some very nice AirPods Pros. Or she could have come back to the gym at another time when, she could, when maybe me and the client weren't there and we were not saying things that she was offended by. The other way that I win is that I always stick to the subject. I never stray off subject. I never go with insults. I never go to, when other people go with insults, they're trying to drag you down to their level so that they can point at you and say, there's the bad guy. So what I do is, in these situations where somebody has resorted to using baseless insults that are really, frankly, unintelligent and intellectually lazy. Hey, there's a McLaren, what is that, a 620S? Very nice green. Mrs. Evil, you would have loved that green. Oh, the color of the car is Jane's emblem with the J in it. Mrs. Evil, you would have loved the color of that car. Anyway, so when they try to move the goalposts, I don't allow the goalposts to be moved. And what you'll find is either they will calm down and then they will try to interact with you in a civil way, or they will really sell out, double, triple, quadruple down, and then really act a fool. And which option do you think she chose? Because when I tell you she devolved into an 8-year-old, I'm sorry, a 7-year-old, yo, she's like, she basically is like, yeah, I'm going to go get you in trouble. You're going to see how much trouble I get you in. So she stalks off to go talk to the doorman or go talk to somebody, a resident manager or something. And I went up there, I continued the session with the client. And, after she left, the Chinese guy was just like, yo, yeah, she bothers me all the time. I walked off to go grab something and come back, and she wanted to take over what I was using and telling me to clean up after myself. I was like, I didn't go anywhere. And then he goes, she's always trying to use 3 machines at the same time. And I told you I was going to bring it back. I told you guys I was going to bring it back. I've already seen by how her training regimen is better than most people, male or female. So I know that she's experienced in the gym. You cannot break one of the cardinal rules of being a gym rat, which is trying to claim several machines at the same time, which she does all the time. But the thing is, I never really call her out on it because I had already promised that I was not going to say another word to her. And I keep my promises. But I just kept repeating to her over and over again, I told you I wasn't going to say anything to you. Nobody's talking to you. Nobody's talking about you. Go back to doing what you're doing. Mind your business. I said, you have earbuds in your ears. I can still hear you over it. There's no way that if you're listening to music at any level with noise cancellation and focused on what you're doing, you're not going to be able to parse out every word that I said, even if I was yelling in your face directly. And we were talking at a normal human volume, right? And now my client is getting pissed off at her, and he's now starting to go at her. And so, like, she thought that everybody was going to come to her defense because she's the only one in the room born without a penis. So everybody is supposed to fall over and trip over for her, and it didn't happen. In fact, my client was like, ma'am, I've only been able to do 2 sets in the last 10 minutes because you're out here yelling. You tell him to stop. I swear to God, she sounded like a 7-year-old. And this is what happens when you get a person who goes their entire life, they make it to an adult. And again, this is not exclusive to women. This is really a liberal issue. I mean, conservatives have their issues, but it looks a little bit different than this. But conservatives understand what it means to be told no, for the most part. For the most part. You know, you start talking about stolen elections or whatever, and they become the same 7-year-old, okay? But in this instance, you realize just how psychologically and emotionally stunted this human being is. And now other residents in the building can now see. And I've warned people. I said, dude, I told you. I said, dude, I told you. Because, you know, I would say me and the client, we both have this weird mix of conservative and liberal viewpoints to the point where, like, for instance, we hate both of the presidential candidates for similar reasons. It's just, we understand. It's just a weird thing that a lot of liberals, they just can't, and especially people who've never had any real problems in their life. The first time they hear no, you're not going to get your way, they throw a temper tantrum like a child, like a small, petulant child. And so for me, and the way that I handle things, because she kept shouting at me, creep, 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 like say it more times, is not going to make it accurate. It's not going to make it accurate. You know, oh, all the women here hate you. You saying that is not going to make it true, right? Now, granted, you know, there's been a handful of men and women that have been annoyed by my presence because their ego does not allow them to take any kind of coaching. So if anybody approaches me and say, hey, you could be doing this better, or I can help you get to your goals better than you can help yourself, because most of you are tech professionals, not fitness professionals like myself. There's a lot of people that don't like that. So in my career, I face rejection, you know, 9 times out of 10, most people are not going to want to train with you, mainly because of the economy. I mean, I get the feeling that some of the people get annoyed because they want a trainer, they can't afford it, right? And that's fine. And I understand that some people don't like being cold approached, and that's fine. But to try to insinuate that people are out here hating me because I'm a creep, I don't make any advances on any of the women. I don't flirt with any of the women. I keep everything ultra professional, and I keep it about the fitness. And then sometimes they talk to me about things that are outside of that, and I will oblige them only if I believe that they're reasonable people. So if you're not careful, guys, if you're not careful, you could be getting bullied and not really know that you're being bullied. But your nervous system will tell you. Your nervous system will tell you that anxiety that you get, that frazzled feeling where somebody is trying to impose their will on you, and you're feeling that pressure to capitulate, you're being bullied. Mrs. Evil will tell you. She told me stories recently of, you know, people bullying in different ways that don't necessarily look like classical bullying. And you need to be aware of these things, people, right? I'm the type of person that once somebody shows me a bad attitude, I don't talk to them anymore. And, I like to think that I'm a person that I don't hold grudges, but I am definitely one of those type of people where if I offer you safety advice or efficacy advice and something bad happens to you in the gym, I'm going to be very tempted to let you be injured on your own, even though I have a first aid certification. I try to, caution men, hey, you really should not be doing barbell bench press without a spotter. And some guys give me attitude, and I'm like, dude, if that bar lands on your upper chest or your throat, I'm going to leave you there. Not because I want something bad to happen to you, but because you have a nasty ass attitude and you probably should feel the repercussions of your actions and then let life teach you why you shouldn't bench press without a spotter. I work out at a bodybuilding gym where half of these guys are roided up and half of them are gay. Okay? Catherine says, could get you in trouble too, not helping, which is actually true, which is why I said tempted. Because as a certified personal trainer and I have a valid first aid, we have Good Samaritan laws that require me to help people in these situations. But what I'm saying is that when people give me nasty attitudes for trying to save them from themselves, it pisses me off. Now, I'm not a person that keeps grudges. I've been around the worst of the worst people. And I'm saying, I'm heavily criticizing this young lady, but she's not the worst human being I've ever come across. But she displays qualities that you guys need to be aware of. And which is why we're having this discussion today. I would still help somebody that disrespected me or gave me a lip or attitude when I'm basically giving them information that could, in some cases, save their lives, or in other cases, get them to their goals faster than they would have if they didn't have the information. And I don't charge people for unsolicited advice. And I get it. Oh, you're in the gym giving unsolicited advice. I'm a professional, and this is how I make my money. That's just what it is. Like, this is how I make my money. I have to show value. I have to show that I know what I'm talking about. And the only way to do that is say, hey, this is suboptimal. And your injury risk is higher than it should be. Right? And, you know what I mean? So just understand that, people are going to, people are going to try to, people who cannot physically beat you up will try to take away your standing in your community. They will try to browbeat you. They will try to shame you into complicity. And you need to stand up to all of it, unless you're an asshole. If you're an asshole, actually being an asshole, then, you're probably not listening to what I'm saying anyway, so I'm not even going to bother. That is a beautiful vintage M3. That is beautiful. Oh my God, that's beautiful. Man, beautiful M3. But just understand, you can be a liberal or a conservative, and it doesn't matter. But when you see anybody trying to manipulate you in any way, you don't have to call them names. You don't need to shout. You don't need to insult them. The only thing you need to do is stick to the subject and redirect their negative energy back to them. And what was the funniest thing that happened? After she went to go tattle on me to somebody, me and my client had moved on to a different movement. And she acted a lot more composed and went back to minding her business like she should have done from the beginning. So guys, there will be people that will try to make you out to be the devil, and when they really don't have any real problem with anything that's really going on, they're basically fucking with you for sport. And you need to be able to recognize when that's happening and then immediately shut it down, directly, not indirectly. Because if you try to shut it down indirectly and they call you a creep, then you would be giving them a good reason for them to call you a creep. So always be direct. And you don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to call them out their name. You don't have to do any of that. Right? Redirect their energy back to them and try to diffuse a situation where they will go away. And we went back to our conversation. We went back to what we were doing. And she finally left us the fuck alone. Because she probably heard that, and, you know, because I went to talk to our doorman after the situation happened. And he said, you know, he's going to take a note that this happened. My client also was in on the complaint. And we basically said, you know, there were no victims. We weren't victimized by her. She wasn't victimized by us. And then he says, well, we have cameras in the gym, so we'll be able to see if anybody did anything to anybody. I was like, yeah, I know. You know, she wanted to fashion herself as a victim so that she can bully people. Because she doesn't have the intellectual capacity nor the moral standing to do what she did and be justified. So she did not get her way. And it's important for people to sometimes not get their way. You know, for me, for most of my life, I've not gotten my way. So I understand how to share spaces with other people. And the funny thing is, if it was probably anybody else, I probably would have like apologized and quieted down. But because it was her and I knew what she was trying to do because she had already showed herself, she had to get somebody to stand up to her. And what is she, like 5'2", 5'1"? Why does a 6'3" man have to stand up to a 5'2" woman? You have to understand that she went to go try to get security to get me removed. Oh, I forgot to tell you this one thing. In her like volley of insults, do you even live in this building? Now, obviously, you're not allowed to use the facilities in the building as a visitor. And she knew this. And she has seen me on the elevator. She's seen me around the building, not in the gym. And again, this is another this is another way that you can see when somebody's trying to manipulate you. Now, this woman has seen me in this building for a year, and she knows that I live in the building. But when she put the whole, do you even live in this building, quip out there, I immediately recognized it for what it was. She didn't think that I didn't live in the building. What she was trying to say is, do you even make enough money to even live in this building? I live in a building where the rent's very expensive. Okay? And you're not going to see broke people in the building. Let's just put it like that. I'm not going to get any deeper into that. But so when she asked a question that she knew the answer to, which is another bullying tactic, she wasn't trying to find out if I actually lived in the building because she knew the answer to that question. What she was really trying to say, and I called her out immediately, and I said this right to her face. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna pull the you're too poor to be here. You're gonna pull that one now." Like I know what tactics you're going to use before you use them. like Ma'am, you know the answer to the question. You were trying to insult me to get me to capitulate. And that's how you tried to move your muscle. You weren't trying to move your muscle in a literal sense, but you were trying to do different things to either make me feel bad about myself, make me look bad in front of other people, or make yourself look better than me or make yourself feel better than me by comparison. And you failed on all accounts. And I called her out directly. No, you know the answer to that question. And my client, which is really funny because every time we're done with a session, we get in the elevator. This dude is like so polite. I met his mom in the elevator a few days ago. And I was like, your son is so polite. She was like, yeah, I raised him. And I was like, I gave her a fist bump. I was like, yes, ma'am. Right? When we get in the elevator, and because the thing is, like, I don't pay attention to the numbers that other residents hit because I mind my business. Every time we get in the elevator and he walks on first, he hits my floor number and his floor number at the same time, every time. So my client is standing right there. And there are other people who live on my floor that see me in the building and see me in the gym all the time. And the incredulous look on his face. And I said, see, I told you. And I warned him. I was like, this is the type of tactics a person like this is going to use. And a person that studies people like I do, you can see it coming as it's metastasizing, as it's developing. You can see when it's coming. Oh, they're about to go here. Here's a non sequitur. Here is another ad hominem. And if that doesn't work, they're going to use this ad hominem. And the only ad hominem that she didn't use, she didn't try to call me gay, which probably would have been the next thing if the encounter would have gone long enough. Anywhere where you find bullies, call them out directly. And one of the biggest ironies is she kept shouting, creep, creep, creep. No, I'm coming directly at you every time. And I'm going to do it respectfully, without insults. And I'm going to redirect you either back to the subject or redirect you back to the fact that you weren't part of the conversation to begin with, and you should use the noise cancellation feature in your AirPods Pro that I can see in your ear right now, and go mind your business. That's what you should be doing. My client was texting me about it last night. He was like, dude, that chick was so rude. And it's like, sometimes you question yourself, could I handle things better or whatever? And it's like, nah, like you have to confront bullies everywhere. And it would not have mattered if it was a dude or a chick. A dude gave me a nasty attitude in the gym. Basically I was saying, hey, correct your wrist because you're going to hurt your wrists, elbows, or shoulders. If your wrists are not in good alignment on the bench press. And then he tried to be like, he had like this weird ass attitude. Like, I don't need any of this information. And I was just like, and I told the dude directly, your ego is going to be your downfall. You think that I only got this energy for women? I got this energy for anybody. If you give me a nasty ass attitude for no reason, I'm going to let you know you gave me a nasty ass attitude for no reason. And you could probably look at yourself but you're probably not going to do that. Jane says, good for you for keeping it respectful. Yeah, because if I go down to her level, I'm only going to feel worse about myself. And it's not worth it. I'm not going to. I'm a very principled person. I'm not going to let you pull me out of my value system because you want to be a petulant child. It's not going to work that way. Catherine and her husband said, so just because you are black, you cannot live in the building? And the thing is, like, I knew she was trying it. And what she doesn't know is that I'm part Indian. She's Indian. She's an Indian woman. I'm part Indian too. I just look black. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But she tried it. And the thing is, I'm telling you, people that operate that way, the behavioral patterns are the exact same, which is why we call them patterns, because they're easily recognizable, because they go from one nodule to the next, and it never fails. They do the same thing. Catherine also says, I wish I could do what you do, Dr. Evil. I try to be nice and then explode. But the thing is, I don't have the space as a black man in America to explode, because that's what she wanted. See, there's two things to that. Number one, it would not be beneficial to my soul for me to explode. And I understand this. But also, number two, I am a black man in America, a straight black man in America. If I would have exploded, then she could have taken that and got me evicted from my apartment, and she would have won. Not me. I would have lost. She was looking for an opportunity for me to lose, and I did not give it to her, so she lost. Because everybody that was in the environment when this was going on, all of them have a dim view of her, not me. So you have to pick your battles wisely, and the way that you choose to go about your battles will go a long way towards whether or not you're going to have a positive future for your life, or if you're going to have a negative future for your life. I'm telling you, people, there's a YouTube channel that I've been binging, and this is probably not the kind of content that you want to watch, but I learned a lot of lessons. Lockdown 23-in-1 is an awesome YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is run by a content creator named Josh, who spent more than 8 years in prison for a variety of crimes. And his channel is about all things prison and crime related. And he covers arraignments, he covers trials, and he covers the sentencing phases after the defendant is found guilty. And one of the things that you'll find is that some crimes are done by decent people who decided to explode instead of staying inside their value system. And I'm not saying that I'm above exploding. It's just that in most situations, I'm able to think through these things methodically and not let my emotions get the better of me. And it is a huge, I'm telling you, your life will be so much better if you are able to control your emotions. Some of us have a little bit more leeway to get out of pocket, but there are some of us who don't. And we had to learn from watching other people that look just like us get burned because they did something hasty in the moment. That is probably the biggest fucking lesson out of all of this, to be honest with you. Don't let anybody else pull you out of yourself, because in many cases, especially when you're dealing with somebody who is either physically weaker than you or intellectually inferior to you, the only way that they can win is by taking you from a place of strength to a place of weakness. And most people's weaknesses are in their emotions, which is why Donald Trump is out here flat out insulting his own voter base. Which is why Kamala Harris is allowing Barack Obama to insult her own voter base. Because they're trying to get you on emotions. They're trying to get you on FUD, or they're trying to get you on sign. They're trying to get you in the case of Donald Trump. He is trying to get people to vote for him off of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And Kamala Harris's campaign is trying to get portions of her voter base to vote on shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. All of them are insults. All of them are designed to appeal to your emotions, to make you less sharper, less strong, less intellectually competent. That's what all those things are designed to do. Don't let it happen to you. Don't let people try to use your All right, let's see. Do I have audio? Do I have audio now? All right, so I figured out a way to fix it. So what I did was I just force canceled the YouTube app and then went back in, and then it said stream interrupted. Do you want to continue? So I don't think I'll have that problem going forward. So basically the car shut off. The car shut off, and it took my audio with it. So it is what it is. But anyway, you gotta understand that a lot of people think that they're playing games with levels to it. And a lot of these, people use these tactics. No, traffic's not bad. I'm actually not far. I just stopped the car because I didn't want to burn any more gasoline, so that you can continue to drive this car, Mrs. Evil. A lot of people use these types of cheap tactics because they work on most people. That's why our that's why our political system works like it does. You don't get people who want to sell you on voting for them on policy. Although Kamala Harris, her campaign ads focus more on policy and less on emotions than Donald Trump's right now, at least right now. But I'm pretty sure that she'll do some fear-mongering very soon, because she's that type of person that would approve those types of messages. But anyway, you got to understand that, these cheap mental games that people play, they work on most people. And you have to recognize that that's what people are going to try to do. And you have to understand that their sole purpose is to make you upset. So when you do get upset, they win. So when you get into conflict with other people, obviously you want to avoid as much conflict as possible. But if you end up in a conflict with some person, understand that depending on what it is, the goal isn't to resolve an issue or to solve a problem. It is to control your emotions, because that's where they get their satisfaction from. Knowing that going in, you need to make sure that you kind of keep your frame. Don't let them get you out of your emotions. Don't explode. Don't start yelling and screaming back and insulting, because that reaction is what they want. And you cannot give it to them. You can't. If there is somebody that is calling themselves your adversary, what do you look like giving them what they want? That's insane. That's insane. So don't do it. They want to get you mad, don't get mad. I can't tell you how many internet debates I've been a part of where, I get into a debate with a white supremacist. I get into a debate with a male chauvinist, a male feminist, a female misandrist, liberals, conservatives. I've I've been in internet debates, and the people who they usually come in three flavors. One will keep to the subject, and they will have the discussion with you. The second type, and I can't tell you which one is the most. I can't tell you which one is the most numerous of them, but the second type will very quickly devolve into insults and condescension, and then double, triple, quadruple down, which, you can use that to your advantage too. Because you're doing society a service. You're letting people show who they are in public. And then there is another group of people who will start to get out of hand, and they will be reminded that their behavior is not becoming. And then they will settle back into themselves when they realize they're dealing with a person who is rational and reasonable. And then they'll kind of quiet it back down. Some people, they get really upset because they're used to people getting emotional with them, and then it kind of devolves into ugly mud throwing. Me, I'm just not going to let you do it. And I'm going to only allow you to insult me but so many times before I say, you know what? Enough people have been able to see how you interact with other people, and I've done my job here. Because at some point, once I know that I'm dealing with somebody who's not reasonable, I go to shift towards a public service announcement mode. I will bait them with staying on the subject. I will then, every time they use a fallacy, some sort of intellectual fallacy, I will point it out. This is exactly what you're doing. This is exactly what you're doing. This is what you're trying to get me to do. I'm not going to do it. And some people respond positively to that, and they cool off and they get back to the actual debate. And some people will just pour it on. And I'm just like, please hit me with another insult, please. And I always make sure in online situations, please do not delete any of your messages, because and I'll let them know this directly. Everyone needs to see who you are. This is how you react when someone disagrees with you. This is how you react when you don't get your way. And I hope that everybody on your friends list, because it's usually on Facebook, which is why I don't get on Facebook very much anymore. I hope that everybody you know reads this interaction and they deal with you accordingly. Because at certain points, I'm not even really a part of the debate, because they're not willing to stick to the debate. They're not willing to stick to the facts. They're not willing to forego the non sequiturs. They're not willing to stay away from the ad hominem. So since the debate is over, now it's like, okay, this is me just helping you expose yourself to the world. I mean, you've been wanting to show your ass this entire time. Well, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do so. And I don't want you to delete anything that you said in all of this. I want everybody to see what you said, under which context you said it, and after you were warned that you were not engaging in civil discourse, and you doubled and tripled and quadrupled down, I want other people to see that this is who you are. And then I go on and I forget about them. You know, when you're by yourself, as often as I'm by myself, you just learn about people and how they process information. And then you find the most efficient ways to deal. Wow, what an asshole. This guy just flipped his coffee cup in the middle of the street. Just flipped the lid off his cup right in the middle of the street. And it'd be the same people complaining about how dirty the city is. When I was in Germany, no litter anywhere. Oh, that grinds my gears, man. Anyway, I do want to thank you guys for hanging out with me for the 100 minutes. I've been trying to hang out with you guys. You guys have been an excellent audience. And, you know, share some of these principles with people that you think need to hear it. I think there are way too many people who are allowing other people to govern their emotions for them. And they're living miserable lives. You know, that encounter that I had yesterday, I had to explain to my client. I said, the only thing you have to do is just look at how she carried on. You know, because he wanted to know if I was going to file a more formal complaint. And I'm like, nah, no. She wasn't really threatening. She tried to, you know, get the long arm of the law on me to do something to me. But she wasn't really threatening. She's just a miserable human being. And so I don't really need to like try to impose my will or effect on her life. She's already miserable. You can tell she's already single. But good on her. Like, she did not have a good physique, and she has a good physique today. She's working hard to try to at least appeal to men on the surface level. But the thing is, she's insufferable. So it really doesn't matter what you look like. Yeah, she's going to be able to attract guys on a surface level in the beginning. But after dealing with her on a regular basis, guys are going to walk away and she's going to wonder why she's by herself childless. And it's like, ma'am, it's because you're a miserable human being that nobody wants to be around. You know? So she was trying to project onto me that other people don't like me. I don't have any friends. But when you look at her, she's always alone. Everybody in the gym likes me. I get dapped up all the time. I get people asking me for information all the time. I get people talking about all different types of subjects. They come up to me. Everybody stays away from her. So she tried to project her situation onto me to make me feel bad. It's like, well, I don't need to feel bad. What you just said about me, not only does it mainly pertain to you, but that's not my reality. Plenty of people like me. I'm good. Catherine says, yes, true. Switzerland either. No trash. Exactly. Mrs. Evil says, Thing 2 and I have moments outside that makes us say, this wouldn't happen in Germany. Exactly. Catherine said, I could have met you had I known you were in Germany. I was announcing it on the channel the whole time, all the way through. But we plan to travel to other places, so, you know. Mrs. Evil says, oh, Catherine, that would have been awesome. Are you close to Munich? That might be our next Germany destination. Yeah, we're thinking about doing that. I wanted to go to Spain, but their people don't like tourists anymore. So I don't want to be a tourist in any place where people are actively saying that they don't want tourists around. I don't want to go to Hawaii anymore. That was a place I wanted to go to. I don't want to go to Spain anymore. Because when I'm a tourist, I don't bar hop. I don't act rowdy. I don't bother people. I just try to find the best bodybuilding gym and enjoy the sights on the way to the gym. Catherine says, I was not watching because I was in Switzerland. Oh, you were in Switzerland. You're back in Colombia. Okay, I got you. Yeah, when I'm a tourist, I don't stand in the middle of the street blocking people's way. We don't order Airbnbs and all of that and try to drive up rent. Mrs. Evil normally just books, random hotels in geographically advantageous places. And she also basically does my itinerary by looking for the best bodybuilding gym in the area. And then I spend my time there lifting. And then I walk around the area where the gym was or where the hotel is, and maybe we'll go to drive to someplace somewhere if we do the rental car thing. So yeah, look out for that in the future, I don't think that we'll end up going to Colombia because there's just too many people waiting to rob Americans down there. I'm sorry. Not going to be able to do it. But yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice if we were able to link that up. But yeah, we are an international family now. But anyway, y'all, thank you for hanging out with me for the 104 minutes that I've been doing the stream. I know it's a little long-winded or whatever, but I really want you guys to have this information on how to deal with people who are socially unruly in ways that, you might not be so quick to identify. Don't let them bully you, son. In Spain, there are hotels that are real castles. Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I don't want. People are marching in the street saying tourists go home, and then people want to squirt people with water guns. Where it's not really like a harmful thing that they're doing, but if somebody squirted me for a water gun because I dared to exist in a place, I would be very tempted to punch them in the face. So, I just don't need that. And, I have another client who actually just flew to Spain yesterday. He's like, these people are so short-sighted. Barcelona would be a ghost town. Nobody would live there because there would be no economy there. Like, the whole reason why Barcelona is as thriving as it is because of their tourist market there. So I don't know. Spanish people do not like the tourists that cannot behave, but I think that goes for all people that live in tourist cities. We live in a tourist city here in New York. I think that goes for everybody. But it is what it is, it is what it is. All right, much love to y'all. I'm gonna go home and eat and rest. I think I have some work to do. Yeah, y'all be easy. Keep working hard. And let's keep encouraging each other to do the best things for our lives. All right? I will catch you on Saturday. Peace.